Alright, what is up you guys? Welcome to the first video of my new YouTube channel, and the first series that I'm going to make on this new YouTube channel. And this first series is going to be about building a search engine using Node.js and Express as our framework. And the reason for this guide is I couldn't find one online. I couldn't find a single guide that was effectively showing me how to make a form that could trigger a more advanced script which would return an object which I could save to a database. Something that I figured would be pretty simple, pretty easy to find online, but it proved not to be. And to me that's very frustrating because I'm a person who teaches myself. I didn't go to school. I don't really have mentors, that's something I would love to have. And so I'm left to my own devices most of the time, and it's very frustrating when something that you think would be common and easy to find online, just some basic explanation of it, doesn't exist. Right? I couldn't find a single good guide on how to do anything like this. And that's frustrating. Perhaps it could be they don't want to overwhelm someone. Perhaps they assume that if you're not a beginner, then you're going to know how this works. But like I said, I'm a self-taught person. I don't have the knowledge to look at a basic, minimal, verifiable example and scale that to a full production environment. And in fact, I figure most people aren't that way. Most people are probably in my shoes where you're a problem solver, you're a learner, you're a coder, but you're not a programmer, you're not an engineer. You don't know how to take these things and blow it up to full scale proportions immediately. It takes you time, it takes you tinkering, and that's what I do. And that's what I want to help you do too. So, without too much on all of that, here's our first little web app. I'll show you what this does, and then I'll start breaking it down, how it works, what it's doing, and where we're going to take it from here. So, what this is a search engine for real estate listings, specifically real estate listings that use AppFolio as their listing manager. And if I want to search for Section 8 housing, which is housing that has a special voucher that's a discount for homeless people, and I want to do it for a company called Solar Rentals. Let's see what happens if I just hit search on this mysterious form. It's going to take a little bit. It's quite slow, unfortunately. We're working on that. But it returns this gibberish, just this object of who knows what. Let's take this and put it somewhere where we might actually be able to read it. So I'm over here working in Sublime. There's just a command window I have open on the side. And if you don't have HTML Prettify on your Sublime setup, I highly recommend you do it because that's what this option is right here. And you can just prettify your code and get a sweet, it cleans it up for you. It's sweet. I love it. Take this, see if we can add some coloration with some JSON. There we go. It's the same. But regardless, here's the object that search returned. So what did it do? Let's remind ourselves what we were doing. We were searching for Section 8 housing on listings from Solar Rentals. So we see here the keys to all these objects are Solar Rentals listing number, and then the actual objects contain the URL, address, the rent, the size, and the contact information for those listings. Pretty cool, pretty nifty. I mean, this isn't the best way to digest this information by any means, but if we take one of these URLs and paste it in the browser, we can see that it works, and we can see that if we search this page for Section 8, there it is, Section 8 voucher accepted. So our minimal search engine worked. Again, this isn't digestible, but it's the beginning of being digestible. This is a JSON object, so we can put this in a database. We can convert this into a CSV. We can do a lot of things with this. And that's awesome. I mean, this is the beginning of our app. But of course, this didn't just happen. I'm probably 20 hours into this project just getting something that could return a basic JSON object, which may or may not be a ridiculous amount of time to spend on a simple project for a family friend. I am not sure. But I'm doing it, I'm curious, I'm invested, and I want to take you on this journey. So, what happened? What happened when I searched that? How did that work? So what happened is this form is just taking this data, sending it as a post request, and when the server gets the post request, it runs a script taking these parameters from the form as the options for that script, and it runs the search using that script. So that script is a basic, essentially a web crawler that I built off of a different library, and it will load pages, render the HTML, and it can crawl the HTML, it can do all that good stuff. So let's get into that initial script. Let's get into the nitty-gritty, the foundation of this app and what I'm doing there. All right, so here we are inside of our app, inside of the app.js file, which is the main file for our app. Everything is going to start here. And really quickly, before I get into the rest of this video, I just want to say that the structure of my app is following the structure that Mozilla provides in their tutorial on how to use Express. So if you want to dip your feet in the water, get a little bit more comfortable with Express before continuing down this series, I'll include a link to that tutorial in the description. However, if you already have some experience and you just want to get started on something more advanced, I'll also include a link to the repository for this code I'm working on right now, so you can be right there with me. All right, so what are we doing? We are looking for what happens when this form, well, not this form, this form gets submitted. And so I guess let's start with our form. Let's inspect the HTML and see what this form is doing. So right here, we see our HTML form element, and it's using the method post and the actions /. So it's posting something to our homepage. That's all we need to know for now, because now we can just go back to our app and start looking for that, looking for a post request to the homepage. And sure enough, in our main file, here is this /. Nothing that says post, but we do know that anytime that the server gets a request from the homepage, doesn't matter what type of request it is, it's going to be processed here. It's going to be processed in the search router. And our search router is here in our routes directory. So let's just go there. Let's see what this router is. Let's see if we can find that post request. So routes search.js, and there we go. There is that post request. So this route, this is just standard for Express. Again, if you don't know how this works, I would follow that guide I've linked in the description first. But let's get into it. So here's our post request. Remember, when we submitted this form, we got back a JSON object. And in fact, if we look at our post request here, we see that the response, RES, is going to be some JSON. That makes perfect sense. Now, where does that JSON come from? Well, it appears to come from this search function. What is this search function? How do we get that in here? How is that generating some JSON? Well, this search function is actually middleware. So middleware is a fancy way of saying, I guess it's a fancy way of saying it's a dependency. It's something that you can include on any file inside of your app. And so here we've assigned this search variable to this middleware here. And so now we can call this variable as a function anywhere we want and reference the function that's inside of our middleware script over here. So that means that we can write a custom script. So let's actually take a look at this middleware. Let's see what this script is. Let's poke around in there. And well, it looks to just be a standard script that you have probably written something similar to in yourself before. So yeah, when we are using this search variable inside of our route, we're just referencing this script. And specifically, we're referencing this getListings function. And how do I know we're referencing this getListings function? Well, because we're using module.exports. And this is what makes something middleware in Express. This is how you make a function so that it can be included in anywhere else inside of your app. And again, so you just assign your function to module.exports. And then that function becomes available anywhere else inside of your app. And in this case, this is our main search script. This is what goes and crawls the web and returns those listing results. And now I just want to show you, see how I've done it very simply like this, module.exports equals getListing. Well, this isn't how their tutorial shows you. So let's take a quick look at the Express tutorial for writing middleware. And I promise you, these two little blocks right here is essentially all you can find online on how to write middleware. So when I first saw this, I was flabbergasted and I was stuck, because this makes it seem like you have to write middleware using this exact syntax, and I didn't want to have to rewrite my function. I didn't know if I could have functions outside of this function, and I didn't even know if I could use this middleware inside of a route. I thought maybe I only could use this middleware in my main app file. So if you have looked at this guide and if you are feeling the same way, well, I have good news for you. This is not the case. You can use middleware any way you want, anywhere you want. So in my case, I used it inside of a route. All you have to do is require your middleware on the file that you want to use it in. This could have been in a controller. This could have been in another piece of middleware. And then when actually writing your middleware, again, you don't have to follow this syntax. You don't even have to use two functions. You don't have to have your options. You don't have to request, response next. You can just have it be a normal function. In my case, it's just my function that I wrote myself. The only thing special to note here is that we are passing options to this function. And if we look at the script, well, there's no variable for options. So where are those options coming from? Well, those options are coming from here, coming from where we're using our middleware. And because we're using it inside of a route, that means we can also get information from the server request. So if the user submits a form and their request is carrying some strings that they input in the form, well, now you can access those and then use them as options right here inside of your middleware. And those options are going to go directly into your middleware script and into the main function that you've referenced. That's super convenient. So that's how we searched for a specific search string and using specific subdomains when we used our search form over here. And really quickly, I just want to point out how just beautiful Express can be. Right here we have this is our search value, and it's the request.body.search. I mean, that just makes sense. But you might ask, how do we know that the request.body is going to have an object in it called search? Well, that's just the name of your inputs. So if we go over here to the search form, we inspect this input right here, we can see that the name of the input is search. And that's all you need to access these values. So now you know when the user puts something in here, submits the form, your app handles that request, the post request to the server, it's going to come with those values, and you can access the values based off the name of the input. Very simple, very elegant, and I'm glad that Express does it that way. So I hope this gives you some insights on how to use middleware. I hope it lets you know that you can break this mold. You can use middleware any way you want, anywhere you want, and you can pass values to it from a form in this manner. If you just use your middleware inside of a route, and you happen to be posting a form that came with some options, well, you can access those options, pass it to your script, and then parameterize your script with user input. Very, very powerful, very, very cool. All right, so that's really all for this video today, you guys. If you want to look more into how to write middleware, some more examples, I recommend poking around in the Node modules. That's how I taught myself. Inside of the Express app and inside of the cookie parser module, there are there's examples of middleware. But if that's not enough for you, if you would like further explanation, please let me know. And in my next video, I'll be sure to include some more examples on writing middleware. But if I do not get a request, then I'm just going to continue working on this search app, building it out, making it more advanced, making it faster, making it sleeker, building a database for it, all of those things. And I would be excited if you want to just follow along with me and perhaps even build with me. So thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next video.